Yeah, today I'm talking with Benjamin Marra, and I have a ton of questions. I don't know if we'll
Nice.
get to them all, but
That's
um,
okay. We could do them all.
I guess we should, first off, let me just say that if you're new to my channel, feel free to subscribe. I have a lot of interviews coming up, actually, two comics related interviews coming up, one on Friday. And, anyways, like if you want more comic interviews, that's going to happen. But also, pretty exciting, you just started a YouTube channel, and I'll put links down to below to your channel, your Instagram, Twitter, anything else you want to link to, your
Great.
website. But why don't we talk about your channel first? Why right now are you starting a channel? What brought that about?
Well, I actually I decided that I've been thinking about it for a long time, and I've been watching a lot of YouTube recently, and was like, I should really kind of dust off these ideas that I've had for many years about what I would do with a YouTube channel.
Hmm.
And so obviously it's like if you go and check it out, it's all process related, and I'm just always drawing. I feel like I have a lot to say about my process, and I love talking about art processes and what other artists do for their art creation. Um, so I was just like, I can just hit record on my iPad, which is what I draw on a lot, and it's so easy to sort of capture what I'm doing, and then I just do a sort of audio track, director's cut style um, thing where I'm just sort of talking about what I'm what I'm working on, and the decisions I'm making
Right.
while I'm working on stuff. So yeah, it's just something that I wanted to do. I also just I'm totally like freelance now, so it's another sort of avenue I can kind of go down with the potential to like monetize the channel in the future. So um, yeah,
Yeah.
I just feel like there's some stuff there. Like I always feel like I want to look over the shoulder of artists that I really like and I'm inspired by, and I kind of feel like there might be something that I'm doing that other people might get something out of if they had the opportunity to look over my shoulder. So it's like um, fun to
Yeah.
share that stuff.
I think, yeah, like once you start a channel, it's just you'll come up with all kinds of ideas as you go along, and I think
Sure.
that's just take it wherever it's fun, and it's cool to do that. Um, what was I gonna say? I was thinking I didn't really introduce you. you're you've been I've kind of researched over the past few days when you kind of got started. I want to say around 2008ish. You kind of is when you really started like releasing regularly, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Okay.
2008 was when I started releasing a lot of comic book stuff.
And you've been, I mean, you write a lot of your own stuff, and you do penciling, inking, painting, but you've also done collaborations with other writers, Joe Casey, Grant Morrison. I was just looking into the all-time comics. I haven't read any of those yet, but I'm curious to check those out. Those look great.
You should. They're a
Uh,
lot of fun. Yeah, they're great.
I mean, the thing that I love about your art style is that you have so many different. I guess I don't want to say styles, but you seem to embrace every genre, and like you seem to. I feel like you love them all, like fantasy, science fiction, superheroes. It doesn't crime. Like it's just you. I feel the both the love of it, but also kind of you kind of exploit the ridiculousness of each genre too. So
Yeah,
um,
that's accurate. That's totally accurate. Yeah.
and also like I hadn't like really seen any interviews with you before I started looking into like who would I want to interview, and like just from your comics, like I think you along with maybe Johnny Ryan, like looking at those comics, I'd like, is this guy even like is he human? Like what am I gonna get into? Like it's
Right.
just so the personality behind it is like so fascinating to me. Like I want to know who this person is, and so
I'm gonna
yeah.
disappoint you, unfortunately. So
No, no. um, yeah, so like I'm looking forward to your channel, and I hope everybody checks it out. I think it'll be your Instagram is pretty. You have like 20 something thousand Instagram followers, so you have a pretty strong presence there. And I'm kind of like the reverse of you with YouTube. I just started using Instagram like 2 weeks ago, like it's
Oh, wow.
2012. So like I discovered you're doing this daily strip. What we mean by yesterday. That's the title, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And you're like 500 something episodes into that, and you did a video showing like a time lapse of that over time, and you can see how it's changed from the beginning. It looked much more formal, and it's just I like how it's getting more and more just like this raw energy of like the the bare bones of what you need to tell a story. So how is that like compared to like the more I guess polished art, like because you do really detailed art on your paintings that must take a long time.
Yeah. I mean, I've always had an appreciation for uh, independent comics that kind of have a looser, more raw, cruder drawing style. And I've always wished that I could draw that way.
Hmm.
I'm really inspired by Gary Panther and Linda Barry and Matt Groening, that whole school, and Mike Judge's early stuff, among others. There's just countless, artists that are sort of drawing in that way. And yeah, I have like uh, more of a penchant for like drawing like with a real classical style when I'm doing like a lot of other comic book projects.
Hmm.
Um, more, yeah, like EC comics or like a Bronze Age kind of Marvel style.
Yeah.
Uh, and I wanted to, with what we mean by yesterday, is develop a cruder comic book drawing style, and I wanted to see if it was sort of an experiment. I wanted to see if uh, people would still pay attention to my work if I was drawing in this kind of dumbed down, not dumbed down, but like looser way of drawing, because I love drawing that way, and I love drawings that I see that are drawn that way. So it's just so much fun. And just when you're like doodling and stuff, uh, I wanted to be able to tell a comic book story that way.
Hmm.
So a daily strip seemed like a really good uh, sort of platform or structure to experiment and get to that um, level of drawing where
Yeah.
it's just really stripped down, bare bones, only essential lines, um, and still convey a story that people were interested in
Yeah.
and that was engaging to viewers or readers. And I think it succeeded in that regard, because it's definitely it's resonated with a lot of people, and it gets more of a response than some of my other work that I feel like is more labored over and more
Hmm.
thought out, and the drawing style is a lot tighter and it takes a lot more time to craft.
Hmm.
So it felt really good. It felt like, uh, that I could draw in a way that other people would accept, even though it's a lot looser and, faster and sort of
Hmm.
more raw.
Yeah, it seems like, do you use it like as a like a warm up before you do your like first thing in the day to like get started before you get into like the more like you said labored stuff?
No, it's funny. Actually, it's the last thing I
Yeah.
work on usually every day, because like, so I guess all my other stuff that I'm working on is like is is a warm up to Wimby, to what we mean by yesterday. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm working on like a lot of role playing game illustrations right now, and those are very, very kind of, I guess I'd say that they're classically drawn, sort of horror EC comics style inking, and it's pretty tight stuff, and then I get to do Wimby kind of at the end of the day
Wait.
whenever I've done all that stuff.
Wait, you said you're working on like role playing game art? So like for like Dungeons and Dragons type? Like
Yeah,
board like not computer game, like actual board game.
yeah, like pen and
Really?
paper, tabletop role playing game art.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
actually, I was going to ask you about a ton of different artists, and one was who I hadn't really thought about until like fantasy art, I was thinking about, because like I remember like as when I was like 13, I read the Dragonlance novels, and
Oh
the
yeah.
the paintings on those, Larry Elmore, I don't know if you know him.
Oh yeah.
His
Yeah.
paintings are
Yeah.
just, some of them are just so detailed and realistic. I mean, like they're beautiful, and like I could see that being an influence on you, perhaps. I don't know, but
No,
um,
huge. No, I love Larry Elmore stuff. I think um he's definitely like one of the best fantasy artists,
yeah,
you know, of the modern age, in my opinion. I mean, I love those Dragonlance covers for like the original sort of series,
right,
not the new covers as much. But I remember
right,
like seeing those covers being blown away, and they still blow my mind. I think that they're
yeah.
incredible. Yeah, I read, I got his art book, and so I read a lot about sort of his career and everything. It's really interesting.
Hmm.
Just like those, all of those TSR artists that were sort of like on staff are also like their careers are just so fascinating to me.
Right. Um, I don't know as well like the Hildebrandt brothers, but I don't know. Would you consider them like as uh, like an influence or
Hundred
interesting?
percent. No, 100%. No, I love them. Yeah, the problem though with these guys is like I want to paint like them,
Hmm.
and I when I try, I fail.
Oh
Like
no, you don't. You do your own stuff. I mean,
I do. I come. Yeah,
it
it
doesn't
comes.
look exactly the same, but it
No.
like I see, like I was thinking like Al Jaffe, maybe like those mad fold-ins. I see kind of that.
Oh
I
yeah, yeah,
like Garbage
totally.
Pail Kids. Like I see a lot of different
Garbage Pail
things.
Kids for sure. I yeah, I um just turn on my screen here so you can see me a little bit better because all the lights are not working right now. Um, yeah, like the Hildebrands, yeah, Al Jaffe's not a huge influence, but that's not the first time somebody has mentioned his name, comparing his like his work to mine, especially my painted stuff.
Hmm.
Um, and who's that other artist that you mentioned?
I said Garbage Pail
Oh,
Kids.
Garbage Pail Kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, Garbage Pail Kids were huge for me when I was growing up. Huge, and like, yeah, just stare. I was like mesmerized by those paintings. You know, just like staring at them. You know, just
Yeah.
like I couldn't understand how somebody could paint like that, like make hand paintings like that. They were just so beautiful to me. Like everything was
Yeah.
just so like rendered in such a way that it was just amazing. And yeah, that stuff has like resonates with me a lot still to this day. And I have a lot of respect for, you know, painters that are applied art painters like that, you know, that do like, yeah, like we're doing fantasy book covers or heavy metal album covers, or you know, Mad Magazine or Garbage Pail Kids or pinball machines and that sort of thing. I just love that stuff. So all that stuff just like
Yeah.
I absorb it, and then it sort of like comes out, you know, in my own work. But yeah, I love painting. I wish I could do more of it.
You don't do digital painting. You're pretty much like on real painting.
Yeah, yeah. Like I work in gouache and acrylic mostly. I've been working mostly in gouache, but I want to get back into acrylic now. Um, yeah,
What?
but I want to do digital painting, and I haven't really like cracked the code on that, even though I,
Yeah.
you know, understand like traditional painting, you know, procedures and processes. Like I know how I could apply them in theory
Mhm.
to digital paintings, but even in the experiments that I've done, it hasn't really like clicked, and I haven't had the opportunity to really dig in and figure it out.
Right. Even like your inking, I thought you didn't work digitally, but then one of your videos I saw you did. You were, I think it was Photoshop you were working in. And so are you inking like digitally now, or is it pretty much like you do both?
It it kind of depends. Like I go through phases, but yeah, right now I'm just inking digitally. I ink on the iPad
Huh.
in Clip Studio Paint. That's what I really enjoy.
Yeah.
Photoshop is I've used in the past, but I've kind of switched it over to Clip Studio.
Huh.
Um, I uh, do traditional inking, like the most recent graphic novel that I did that's going to come out, I think next year sometime, was all done with traditional inks. But the problem with traditional inking I've found is I've become like so obsessed with the tools that I'm using that I am just on this quest to kind of find like the perfect nib, or like the perfect nib holder, or the perfect brush, or
Right.
the perfect ink to go with the brush, and the perfect paper to, like, ink on. And there's just so many variables that it drives me kind of insane, and I just become just constantly obsessing about like trying to seek and find the most perfect combination of tools. And it changes with my attitude and with my mood. 'Cause sometimes I'll like the Hunt 102, but then I want like more of a Klaus Janson line, so I'll switch over to like a Hunt 103. And you know then I'll just be like, no, I just want to use a brush for a while. But uh it can be fun, and when I feel like I'm in the flow with that stuff, it's really great. But I feel like there's just too many drawbacks for me using traditional tools now. And like inking digitally is just like, it's so smooth, and like I don't have to become kind of obsessed with like the materials and everything like that, because it's just pixels,
Right.
basically.
Yeah.
So
Huh.
uh but I have found like the perfect kind of digital inking implements that really replicate what I want to get results wise. Like they can really replicate exactly uh, the type of traditional tools that I prefer. So
Hmm.
it's just way easier, and it's way more um, uh, time. It saves a lot of time, and when I have
Right.
deadlines, it's a help.
Yeah. Well, I think it looked. I mean, the video that I saw, it looked amazing. So I think, yeah, I think either way, it looks good. I'm happy. Your inking is. I feel like your inking, your all three, your penciling, your inking, and your painting are all just very. Um, I couldn't see any way to improve them. But I mean, I'm sure you.
Thanks.
I think they're all amazing. So, if you were starting nowadays, though, as opposed to 2008, would you like go through Instagram? You think first, or what would be different nowadays?
I mean, yeah, it's hard to say, because I kind of had to go through the gauntlet of self-publishing
Right.
my stuff, and learning learning through that endeavor. Um, it was just sort of like a trial by fire, but I wanted it because I wanted to like have total control over the outcome. And I really wanted to just have very specifically, I wanted to just have like a comic book with newsprint paper,
Mhm.
uh, printed, that I could like distribute myself and sell online and stuff. So I wanted to have that experience, and like set up a business and everything like that. So if I were doing it now, yeah, I think that I would just do a daily strip on Instagram, and that would be the thing. Because with with Instagram in particular, it's just a great platform for web comics. And I didn't know this until I started doing a daily strip with that swipe functionality. It's just like a perfect one after another reveal for a
Yeah.
daily strip, a 4-panel daily strip. And 4 panels a day is not a big ask uh, for somebody who's really busy. Um, so I think that, and then if you do it for long enough, if you do it for a year, you have a graphic novel at the end.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. So it's 4 panels a day, and I particularly love like a grid system for page layouts. So
Mhm.
just 4 boxes on a page to me is like the most efficient, best way of telling a story with a comic book. Anyway, I mean, I
Huh.
think six is ideal, because like Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko kind of worked off of this 6-panel grid, and so I feel like that is like the true comic book
Hmm.
uh, page layout. And I don't like to deviate from that, so, because I just like to focus on just like the story, this is what's inside the panels rather than like the shapes of the panels are sort of like making, I love Jim Steranko, but I don't need all those crazy layouts. Um, so yeah, I think I just do a daily strip on Instagram. It's all I plan on doing in the future. So yeah, that's what I would do. Yeah, starting out,
Really?
especially also because it's just, yeah, for sure. It's just it's very efficient. You can reach an audience. You have a daily sort of dialogue with people that are with readers.
Hmm.
You can build an audience through it, and then there's no downside really for if you want to eventually publish it as a book, it's always an option.
And it is
And
going to be published as a book, right?
yeah, it is. I mean, I'm working with a friend who's helping me assemble it into InDesign right now, and then yeah, I'm going to send it to some publishers. And
Nice.
if anybody says they don't want to publish it, then I'm just going to put it up on Lulu or some
Hmm.
other sort of print on demand
Yeah, yeah.
site like that.
Yeah, you can, I mean, through Amazon, you can use their, I think they do it through KDP now. It's, uh, you can do it like a digital ebook and the print book. Like it's pretty
Yeah,
easy to do. So,
yeah, I've done that actually with some of my early self-published stuff, just to
oh,
like experiment with that. And yeah, I think that that's a really great option for sure.
so like build an audience on Instagram and then then you can like promote whatever through there.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
Nice. When I was looking at your website, I saw an image I'd never seen before of New Gods, Jack Kirby's New Gods,
Yeah,
that I thought was wonderful. And I you didn't actually do like a New Gods story though; it's just that image, right?
yeah.
Uh,
It's just that it was for I can't remember. It was early on when I would just do like projects like that for fun, and I think somebody was doing like it was around the time the new 52 is coming out,
hmm.
and somebody on a website said, let's make the covers of the comics that we would like to make or like to see them make.
Because I want to read
And
that
so,
issue.
I know.
Like I
So
wonder. I was like, where is that? How can I get that?
I
But
know. I wish I could do it. So I mean,
if
so I think
if
everybody. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just gonna. I mean, this was a question. Like, if you could have any, corporate property, like whatever, to go wild on any length, any no editing, like, but no editor telling you what you can and cannot do. What property would it be? Like, do you have like a dream property, or is that not interest you? Is that like not?
No, no. I think about that a lot, but well, not a lot, but when it there are times when you know, will come across like a comic book where I like deeply, deeply love it, and I'm like, man, I would really love to like take a crack at this, and see what I could do. But the problem is that I love those comics because of like what they are, and not, and I could never probably do as good a job as like the people that um, worked on them. Uh, that made me think that I would want to work on it, have done, or whatever. You know what I mean?
I think it
Like
would be great though. Like I wish, yeah. Like
I
I
mean,
see a lot of like what you were talking about Ditko. I see like you doing Spider Man or Doctor Strange. That would just be amazing to me. I would love to see
well,
that.
Doctor Strange would be like the one.
Mm,
Would be like an amazing, amazing uh, character to sort of be handed the keys to.
yeah.
But yeah, I think that that would probably be number one. But the problem with that would maybe be I would be interested in maybe doing like a Tom Sutton sort of style inking or a Frank Brunner style Doctor Strange,
Hmm.
but like I would want to do a Steve Ditko style, but then I think I get seduced by like the possibility of trying to like do like this really overly like kind of rendered crosshatchy feathery
Yeah.
70s style Doctor Strange. Um but yeah, that would be a great one. That one, I think the Hulk would be a really good
Oh, that'd be interesting. Yeah.
character to work on for sure.
Just
Um
the way that you depict both kind of civilians and also kind of, thugs. I feel like it's just so so appropriate for either of those. Yeah.
Yeah, or I don't know. I really like. Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard for me to say. There are so many that I would really love to get my hands on. But at the same time, I don't. I've got so many stories that like I want to tell of my own that
Right.
like I don't even know if I would want to devote the time to working on those corporate
Right.
properties
Yeah.
because
Exactly.
it's fun maybe in some regard, but in it's just for like short-term gain. In the long run, it's way better to like work on stuff that you've created.
Yeah. What is you said you have a graphic novel that's coming out next year. Can you talk about the name of that or anything? Like what?
Sure. Yeah, it's yeah, I don't think it hasn't been announced yet, but I don't think it really matters if I talk about it.
Okay.
So it's the title is Disciples, and it is sort of a vampire story where it sort of thinks about like Manson family style cult from the 19 uh, late 60s, early 70s. Um, what if they were like a sort of group of vampires?
Really?
And yeah, and it sort of follows like these two women who are abducted by that cult, and then one escapes, and it's about her life and her daughter's life in the present day, and the cult ends up resurfacing.
Interesting.
And yeah, it's a really good story. It was written by two screenwriters, David Burke and Nicholas McCarthy. David Burke worked with Paul Verhoeven on a recent movie that he did called Elle, which I was really impressed with.
Huh.
So I'm a big Paul Verhoeven fan. So it was
Okay.
cool to work with David Burke.
I'll have to see that. I haven't seen that.
Oh,
So
you should check it out. It's good.
so you have worked with different writers. How does is that pretty satisfying? Like, or do you, like you said, do you prefer working on your own stuff, or do you like the mix, like the kind of the creative energy of working with other people too?
I like the mix. I like I like to work with other people because I feel like when I start to get into a little bit of like a rut, when I start to get into a little bit of a groove and feel like my work is becoming kind of repetitive and all
Mm.
my ideas for future stories are kind of the same feeling. Um, that's when I sort of feel like it would be a good idea to stretch and collaborate. One of the reasons why I wanted to do this story with David and Nick is because it's almost prime it's an almost all female cast.
Hmm.
Like those are the protagonists. And it was a story that I would never have come up with on my own. And the writing was just super good. I was so impressed with it. So I felt like I could never come up with something
Hmm.
as good or as different. And I just wanted that challenge of seeing if I could adapt their vision, for the story. So that was a good challenge, and
Hmm.
it also took kind of like a little bit of weight off my shoulders because I wasn't bearing the responsibility of also like having to generate the the character arcs or like the story
Right.
or those sorts of things, which are great. I mean, as a storyteller, I love doing that, but um, it was just a nice kind of experiment to to work with other people, especially those guys.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to that. It's another question I had was about conventions. Do you do conventions? Like, what is going on with conventions right now? Are they even happening? I saw
Even before,
San Diego's not happening this year, right? It's totally
I
off. I think
I
it's
don't know.
all online.
I would expect it to be online if it was going to happen at all.
Yeah.
But even before the pandemic hit, I kind of semi-retired from going to conventions just because it got to a point where I didn't feel like I was gaining anything more from being present at
Hmm.
conventions. So I decided that my time would be better spent just staying at home and working on stories and generating more comics.
Right. It seems like, I mean, especially now with like so much video conferencing, that like almost everything that you can do at a convention you can do online or through the mail. It's
Right.
um I don't know if I just kind of started doing this recently, like direct uh, consulting and coaching through this website. There's different websites, but have you ever like, do you have any interest in doing something like that, like portfolio reviews for other artists or anything, or is that like not interest you at all?
No, I think that that would be really cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
I definitely am interested in that. I mean, I really love just talking about um, art and you know why we would make art, or how we make art, that sort of thing. So you know I definitely am open to trying
yeah, yeah.
that kind of endeavor for sure.
Yeah, I just started doing it like last month, and I've done it several times, and it's fun. I just find that it's like you can set it up different ways, like whatever, however you want to do it. Like if I was in your position, yeah, I would do like portfolio reviews and just post it on your Instagram. Like here's my, and I'm pretty sure you'll get, and you can kind of limit the hours too, so you don't have to say like I'm available all day. Just like I'm available
Right.
1 hour, 1 day a week or something. Like so it doesn't like take over all your time. Like
Yeah,
um,
that's not a bad idea. For I should look into that.
I'm all for any kind of like monetization of like artists so that they can do more great art. So like like I don't know if you like have any like Hollywood like possibility connecting to like I'd love to see like a CGI Benjamin Marra movie or whatever, or video games. Like I could see that definitely. Like you seem like you have the world generating ability. I see that a lot in your art.
I mean, thanks. That's nice to hear. I mean, I've got some friends who are producers, and there are some like rumblings here and there, but Hollywood is like super fickle, and
Right.
my stuff can tend to be, I don't know, like sometimes like as you go up like through the hierarchy, it seems
Mm.
like people get it less and less.
Mm.
So yeah, I don't have high hopes for it, but I'm still hopeful that something could happen. I mean, movies and television shows are one of the primary inspirations for me.
Mm.
So it would be amazing to have my work adapted into either one of those
Yeah, yeah,
formats. It'd just be amazing. So I can't really control it. So I can
right.
only do the things that I can control, which is like write stories, make stories, post them on Instagram, start a YouTube channel, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like, I mean, comic people have talked about this plenty about how like it's not like it doesn't make the comic's still going to be there, and the comic is,
Right.
but if it draws more people to your comic, if it gives you more money to do whatever, I'm all for it. Like um, like
Me too.
if I were in your position, I kind of would be like, I don't care what you do with it, just give me the money. And like, to me, it's not selling out if it allows you to make more art. So,
Yeah. Like, I mean, I understand, Alan Moore's sort of position on it, where, you know, he's uh, hypercritical of the adaptations of his work, but he's in a position where he can kind of afford to be
yeah,
critical of that stuff because his works have sold so well. I mean, my stuff is just not the type of thing that's going to like, I'm not going to make a living off of it directly
Hmm.
with book sales or anything like that. So, um, yeah, if it could get adapted, I wouldn't really, I think, have too many qualms with how faithful something was.
Right.
Especially because I understand, there are really insane limitations when it comes to that kind of thing. With not just like budgetary, but it's such a huge undertaking, and there's so much money on the table, and the stakes are really high for success that it's just also, yeah, it's just a completely different medium, and time works differently in
Hmm.
movies and television than it does in comics. So
Yeah.
there's so many more dimensions to consider that it just can't be I mean, it just can't be like too faithful an adaptation. Although I think the Sin City movie, the
Hmm.
first one, did a particularly good job of bringing that comic to life.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I just saw actually that Frank Miller started on Instagram. I don't know if you know that. Um,
Oh, I didn't know that. No.
yeah, he's basically just like holding up like these huge drawings that they look pretty good. Like he's gotten so much more cartoony as he goes along, and
Yeah,
I could,
yeah.
but
He's got like big feet like on all of his characters now.
yeah, but he like to me like like around 2000 or whenever he kind of did his last Sin City book and he kind of moved into Hollywood, and
Yeah,
I just feel like I wish he had kind of stayed and done more Sin City books. Like I he was on a roll, and then like he when you take that break from work, you can lose your flow, and he still does great art, but like I just imagine like all the Sin City stories. Like we have like however many, six or whatever the original books, and they're great as like this little universe. But he always talked about how he had all these stories, and like the odds of him doing them now is like increasingly small,
pretty
unfortunately.
remote. Yeah, it's too bad. Yeah, I think it's tough because well, for somebody like him, like he's making like he can basically write his own check, when he's doing a comic, and so it's unfortunate because someone in his position that has had so much success in comics. I mean, I guess there's just that much more money to be had in Hollywood, but uh, we would be better off if he just stayed in comics and we had more Frank Miller stories in comics. I think, although his more recent sort of like twilight years of his career, the stories have been kind of weird. So um, I do look back on like his Daredevil stuff with a lot of reverence.
Right. Yeah. Um, I think we've hit a lot of the questions I wanted to ask.
Nice.
One thing I was kind of surprised. I don't think do you know Noah Van Sciver?
Yeah.
Wait, my Noah Van Sciver. Yeah, you haven't done his YouTube channel interview like because
No, I
he's
haven't.
it's amazing like how many like cartoonists like I look for an interview on YouTube and he interviews like everybody. So like
Oh wow.
if you should, I would recommend going on his channel because I'm pretty sure he'll have you because he interviews everybody.
Nice.
And it's really good because they talk a lot about both the art side and the business side of comics.
Right.
Yeah, I would recommend doing his channel. But I'm looking forward to your channel to see where it goes. I just love your work. It's so like unapologetic and just like real. Like I love it. So
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it.
oh, one question. My previous guest, my friend Andy, he wanted me to ask about you did something with American Psycho, or was it just
Yeah.
what?
Um, I did like a series of drawings based on the movie American Psycho. I've never read the book, but the movie is one that I consider to be like a perfect film.
Yeah, yeah, it's
So
good.
yeah, I'm just always so impressed with it, and yeah, I just wanted to do a series of drawings about that were just inspired by scenes from that film, and they're all done in kind of like a Raymond Pettibone fashion.
Hmm. I don't know Raymond Pettibone. Who is that?
Oh man, yeah, he did like the covers for the Black Flag albums, early Black Flag albums, and like, oh yeah, man, he's like
I'll check him out.
he's a rock star, like fine artist now. He's amazing. Yeah, and he did an amazing comic early in his career called Captive Chains. That is an insanely inspiring piece of work to me.
I'll check that out.
So
Yeah,
yeah, do it.
nice. All right, cool. Well, once again, I encourage people to check out your channel, your Instagram, and all the links will be down below. And yeah, man, I'm looking forward to all your future projects. Yeah.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on the show.